to Canada now, which is dropping many of its retaliatory tariffs against the United States.
Canada and the United States have restored free trade across most goods. A symbolic move meant to reset relations with Washington. After months of tariffs and heated exchanges, the tone has shifted. Prime Minister Mark Carney confirmed Canada will roll back many of its counter tariffs on U.S. products. He framed it not as a concession, but as a reset. Carney explained that Canada is aligning with the U.S. to safeguard what he calls the most advantageous trade deal any country currently enjoys with America. President Trump welcomed the step and announced fresh negotiations would soon begin. For both leaders, this is the reopening of talks that will determine the next era of North American trade. Beginning September 1st, Canada will drop the 25% retaliatory tariffs it placed on U.S. goods covered under the North American Trade Pact. Donald Trump has leaned heavily on tariffs as his negotiating weapon of choice. Since August 1st, Canadian exports outside CUSMA have been subject to a 35% duty. On top of that, U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum remain at 50%, raising costs for manufacturers and straining integrated supply chains. The just-in-time model once central to cross-border trade has been shaken. This mirrors Trump's approach with Europe, which accepted a 15% baseline tariff in return for stability. Similar arrangements were struck with Japan and South Korea. Canada, however, holds a special position. Roughly 85 to 90% of its exports to the U.S. remain tariff-free under CUSMA. That keeps Canada's effective tariff rate at just 5.5%. By contrast, the global average tariff into the U.S. has surged to nearly 16%, according to figures released earlier this month. Trump cites these numbers as proof that his pressure tactics are working. We're matching what the United States has done, what the president has done. We've got the best trade terms of any country with America right now. Our hope is to strike a bilateral deal that eases the burden of sectoral tariffs, Carney said. He has firmly rejected the idea that removing counter tariffs amounts to surrender. Instead, he argues Canada is shielding critical industries while ensuring its exports maintain their unique edge in the American market. By lifting retaliatory measures, Ottawa signals respect for the current framework while preparing for the next phase. Carney's top priority is stability. Canadian companies want long-term certainty before committing to new investments. That certainty depends on predictable rules with Washington. At the same time, Carney is keeping diversification on the table. His upcoming mission to Germany with key ministers underscores this strategy. Rather than backing down, he is positioning Canada to secure leverage and maintain its standing as negotiations intensify. Our talks with the United States have unfolded as Washington rewrites nearly all of its trading arrangements, Carney said. The hardest work still lies ahead. Renegotiating CUSMA could take as long as 18 months. Both governments know the stakes are massive. Daily trade between the two countries totals an estimated 2.5 to 3 billion US. Neither side can afford drawn-out disruption. Trump wants to prove tariffs can rewrite terms in America's favor. Carney's goal is to show Canada can safeguard its access without sacrificing key sectors. Metals and autos remain sticking points, and supply chains, particularly in automobiles, are under pressure. Yet Canada enters with a strong advantage. It still enjoys the lowest average tariff rate of any U.S. trading partner. For Americans, the partnership secures vital energy, auto parts, and farm inputs that cannot be easily replaced. For Canadians, the U.S. remains the dominant export market. The months ahead will test endurance more than words. Trump's pressure and Carney's patience are on a collision course. The question isn't whether one side folds, but whether both can strike a balance that secures North America's economic future. Meanwhile, energy costs in the U.S. are climbing at more than twice the rate of inflation. Across the country, households are feeling the impact. The Consumer Price Index rose 2.7% over the past year, but energy bills jumped over 5.5%. Nearly 60 utilities are preparing rate hikes in 2025, adding $38 billion in electricity costs and another $3.5 billion for natural gas. Demand for power is rising at the fastest pace in decades. "We haven't seen energy demand like this for decades," one industry executive said. Data centers, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and electrification across daily life are all driving unprecedented consumption. AI data hubs, EV adoption, and an electrified lifestyle are straining an aging grid. At the same moment, Trump is urging manufacturing to come home. The foundation of that vision, cheap and reliable energy, is showing cracks. Recently, Trump held a call with Prime Minister Carney. Ottawa described it as a wide-ranging discussion on trade and economic goals. The bigger question is whether Trump reached out because he knows Canada holds much of the energy America needs. Trump has made tariffs the centerpiece of his second term, using them as a lever to force companies back to U.S. soil. This month, he imposed a 100% tariff on imported semiconductors, with exemptions only for firms committing to domestic manufacturing. The strategy extends beyond tech. Steel and aluminum still face 50% duties, and imports of transformers and grid equipment are also caught. The intention is to tilt the playing field toward U.S. producers. But the unintended result is higher costs for the infrastructure needed to power Trump's vision. Coal plants are being kept open longer, and new gas plant proposals have resurfaced. But plants take years to build, and turbine prices have tripled. Coal remains pricier than natural gas or renewables. Regulators warn that prolonging coal's life adds costs utilities will pass on to customers. The paradox is stark. Tariffs may bring back factories, but they risk sending household energy bills soaring. Carney, by contrast, has a different plan. My government fully recognizes that making Canada an energy superpower means becoming the world's supplier of choice for critical minerals and clean energy. Diversifying partners strengthens our leverage with the U.S., he declared. While America wrestles with rising costs, Canada controls much of what Trump needs to fulfill his ambitions. Carney's blueprint invests in critical minerals and clean power. British Columbia alone holds 16 essential minerals used in solar panels, EVs, and chips. Ottawa is pouring money into infrastructure that links mines to rails and ports, positioning Canada as a trusted supplier beyond China and Russia. At the same time, Canada is ramping up solar, wind, hydrogen, and nuclear, while pledging to make its oil and gas among the cleanest in the world. Already, Canada supplies more than 4 million barrels of oil daily, over 8 billion cubic feet of natural gas per day, and 80% of U.S. electricity imports. It also provides about a quarter of the uranium fueling American nuclear plants. These are not side contributions. They are the backbone of North America's energy system. That is why Trump's phone call with Carney stands out. Ottawa called it productive. The White House said little, but the timing speaks volumes. And that wraps up today's story. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss an update from Traveling Vibes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.